Hey, welcome everybody. We're back. It's another episode of the show we affectionately call Think with a Drink. It's brought to you by the Aries Foundation for Financial Education. This episode we're calling it halfway there.
Yes.
A mid-year review. I'm not sure that there's anybody out there who's really happy right now with everything that's going on, unless you're in the administration of the White House at this point in terms of what's happening. But anyway, we figured we'd take a look at what's gone on, sort of where we're headed, and what possibly you might be able to do to get around that or to deal with, because nobody really knows.
And there will be some rolling of the dice involved.
And definitely alcohol. That's definitely part of this whole process if we're going to be looking at everything, if we're going to be honest with it. So we're going to try to dive into and talk a little bit about what's gone on, but more importantly, sort of how it mirrors what happened the first 6 months will maybe look like what happened in the second 6 months. I think that's what we're going to get as we go through this thing. So anyway, real quick for us, an introduction. My name is Tom Alessi. I am the president of the Aries Foundation for Financial Education. I have been in financial services for 25 years, going into my 26th year. Those letters after my name just let you know that I am a certified fiduciary. Unlike the other folks on TV who tell you that they are fiduciaries, I'm actually a certified fiduciary, which just means I have to act in the best interest of anybody that I'm sitting down with and giving guidance and advice. Craig, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Craig Richardson, Vice President of the Aries Foundation. I don't have to have any guidance at all. But I do. Anyway, So my specialty is working with families and individuals to help them define their financial goals and have a better relationship with their money.
And the other person on there who's part of our management team, Melanie, is in the background. She is not in front of the camera. She's behind the camera. She's our operations manager. She's the person who keeps this whole ship running, and we are thankful for that, and keeps us all on track and in pace at what we're trying to do.
Right.
So a little bit about the foundation. So it's Aries Foundation for Financial Education. You can find us on the web at ariesfoundation.org. And we would appreciate it if you did find us on the web, because we just updated our website not too long ago. And we'd love to get feedback from you just to get a little sense of how you feel about it. There's a lot of material on there, whether you're an individual looking for some planning or some guidance advice. There's information on there if you're an employer and you're looking for, hey, how can I bring financial wellness to my employees? What are some of the things I should be thinking about in doing that? There's a whole section in there for employers. But a lot of different stuff in terms of blog posts and videos and other things that you can check out. So check it out. Again, it's ariesfoundation.org. The mission behind Aries is trying to help everyone have a better relationship with their money, because it really doesn't matter who you are. You're in a relationship with your money. And just like every other personal relationship in your life, there are behaviors and triggers that can cause you to act a little irrationally sometimes when it comes to dealing with your money and your finances. That's all anyone at Aries, Craig, myself, Melanie, the rest of the team, we try to do is everybody take a little step back, take a little bit of that emotion out of dealing with your money so that you can be a little bit more practical and understanding some of the whys behind what you do with your money.
If you want to know.
If you want to know. You don't have to. Now we get to the fun part of this whole thing, which is we call it Think with a Drink. We call it Think with a Drink for a reason, because sometimes money, finances can get a little daunting, a little challenging, a little overwhelming. So we want to make it a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more casual, have a little bit more fun at this. And so we can't think of a better way to do that than sitting here at the bar and having a beer to sip on while we talk about whatever it is we're talking, especially this one, halfway there. God bless. We really might need another one as we go through this.
We only got one bottle.
So this is Celebration. This is from Sierra Nevada. This is a robust IPA, basically, in terms of what we're drinking. But the idea is whatever you want, casual, whatever you like to sip on, whatever it might be, hopefully you can join us, and we say skål.
Skål. This is a beer cowboy drink, right?
Yeah.
Throw a little dirt in it.
Throw a little dirt in it. All right, so the agenda for today is what's happened so far. How do we feel about tariffs, inflation, recession, all those fun topics.
my.
Yes. And you know, what do we see happening with the rest of the year, and maybe what are some of the things that you could be doing to be prepared for as we go forward with some of this?
Right.
Okay. Next slide. So 2025 has been. I'm gonna throw it to myself first, then I'll throw it to you.
Oh,
Do you want to go first? No,
I'll let you go first on this one.
I will go first. The word I'm going to use here to fill this in is volatile, right? I just think everything has been either that or unpredictable, either one. And I think they're sort of similar in terms of what we're talking about. But it's just, there's been a lot of volatility. There's been a lot of volatility in everything it's doing, especially when we talk about the markets and everything that goes on. It just feels, I'm going to amend it and stick with the unpredictable, I want to say, is my word for it.
I have to say unusual.
Okay.
All right. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the times the markets, even though they do all kinds of funky different things, and we've talked many times about that on the show, usually there is some kind of predictable pattern. If this does, X does one thing, Y is going to do another.
Correct.
Now it seems like there are no particular guiding rules. We don't what is really going to make this happen versus that happen.
Right.
So I would say unusual would be my word.
Yeah, no, and I like that. Unpredictable. I like that one too.
Yeah,
that it has definitely been unpredictable. And I think for a lot of individuals, certainly for a lot of businesses, that feeling of unpredictability, that feeling of unsurety, uncertainty has really led to this whole, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I should be doing. And, you know, where things are going to go from here. And that's really what we're going to talk about, because I think that's the sense we get from everybody that we sit down and talk to is this sense of, wait, I'm not really sure what I should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working with some people and they say, I just landed this fantastic job. I work with other people who said, I just lost a job I've had for 30 years. So like I said, it's unusual because the patterns are all over the place.
Right, right. Okay, so next slide. And so this is the year so far. You got to hit them all so they all run. Thank you. So the first one, we're having a little fun. That's the kids with the sparklers. This was our little take on Liberation Day. So the first one, or the second one, or maybe the next one coming up is going to be the third one, I think, in terms of Liberation Days that have been available to things in terms of it. So, you know, what happened back March into April with Liberation Day was actually April 2nd. It was the whole tariff, and, you know, and we'll go through with tariffs in terms of dealing with everything. That the concept here is that the markets weren't really prepared when the president rolled out his tariffs, even though he had said we were going to have tariffs, this is what we're going to do. And the markets, they didn't tank, but they definitely roiled. They definitely, you know, lowered significantly.
Well, it responded to the unpredictability. And then the market responded, it went down because it couldn't predict what was going to happen next.
Right.
And because so much of the market is now based on actuarial science and algorithms, it responds to news cycles. And so I think that really hit it pretty hard.
Yes. And so, and then we slid right into, and, you know, forgive us for using the analogy and the acronym, the Taco Tuesday, which is Trump always chickens out, because that's what happened with Liberation Day. He eventually said, oh, wait, no, I'm going to put a pause on this. We're going to hold off. No, wait, those tariffs, we're going to lower that number. We're going to change this number. And no, you don't get it, but they'll get it type of thing. And so what you had was, as Craig talked about, this unusual or unpredictable, this moving board that was going on. And suddenly it was like, well, wait a minute, now we're going to build this in. And literally, as this has happened now, the markets have been building in this concept that the administration is going to say one thing and then turn around and do another. And the markets are actually building on that, and that's where the taco thing comes in.
Well, that's because typically market cycles are determined by strategy, by policy, by people making background decisions based on information and data, not usually made based on how I feel today.
Right.
What I want to see, all right, we're just going to raise them today. No, we're going to lower them tomorrow. No, we'll keep them guessing. They have no idea what's going on.
They have no idea. That's it.
And I think it's important too, Tom, for sort of viewing audience understands what a tariff is exactly.
Right. So a tariff is it's a tax on income on
On goods.
Imported goods, sorry, thank you, in terms of going through that. So if you think of an item that cost $100 and there's an announced that there's a 20% tariff on importing that into the country, well, now that item is now going to be $120.
Right. And it's the consumer that pays the tax, not the country that's importing it. Right?
No, the country that's importing it, the idea is that the concept is that one, that the goods are going to be harder to come in so that you will turn to local goods more, sourced.
Right. The demand drops because it's more expensive. Yep.
But the flip side to that is it does not necessarily always work. And you wind up in a situation that, and we'll talk about what's happened and where things go when we get to it in terms of where we see things headed. You see a spike in costs, and that's what happens in terms of it. The other thing that's going on that so far, which is interest rates, and that interest rates have been held where they are. And we'll talk about that in a second, but this one's more in line with the housing market and what's happened with housing. And housing hasn't really moved. Right, housing is pretty much stuck in this tranche, if you will, this level area that really is not. It's actually down a little bit from where it was a year ago, I believe.
Well, I think there's a
home sales.
few factors for that too. I think there was an inventory shortage for sure. Talking to a lot of realtors that we know, there was just nothing to sell. People wanted to buy, but there was nothing to sell, and that's why prices went up. But I think the other issue is now they're building a lot of houses, but interest rates are high.
Yes.
Right? So the prices are up, but the interest rates are up, so it makes it less affordable for people. So you're kind of in this conundrum of, do we drop prices or wait for interest rates to go down?
And so here's one of the things as we talk about what's going to happen here with the second half of the year. Because this is why we're saying that there's a little bit of a mirror thing going on here. Because the White House just announced new tariffs August 2nd. Right, so now we're going to have, I don't know if it'll be Liberation Day 3 or Liberation Day 4 or whatever it is, but anyway, new tariffs coming the beginning of August. Supposedly there's not going to be, that's it, it's a hard line in the sand. There will be no Taco Tuesday on it, supposedly, in terms of dealing with it. And the problem with that is that it's going to drive those costs, those building and other supply costs, up because of that. And so that's going to keep those home prices increasing, and affordability is going to become even a bigger gap.
Yeah, so you could, the interest, we had the inflation we had a couple of years ago may come back to bite us a little bit toward the end of this year.
Right, we'll get to inflation in a couple of minutes.
Okay, well, I just thought that's where you were naturally going, so. Since you were talking about prices going up.
Yes, we'll get there. So we'll go to the next one, which is interest rates, because everything is interest rates, and that is the version of the Federal Reserve Bank, the chairman, Jerome Powell, just pausing the interest rates, just basically squeezing everything that's gone on. And, I don't want to say right now there is this back and forth happening between the administration and the Federal Reserve Bank, almost like playing a game of chicken as to who's going to blink first, because the administration keeps calling on the Federal Reserve Bank to lower interest rates. The Federal Reserve Bank says, we're not going to lower interest rates because you keep putting tariffs out there, and we don't know how the market's going to react or how the economy is going to be affected by that. Like Craig said, you got this inflationary thing that could happen with that. So we're not going to lower interest rates if inflation's going to tick up. And you got this almost this tug of war, this game of chicken going on between the two of them. And I don't know that there's a clear indication. Right now, the Fed is saying that there are the possibility of dropping the rate twice between now and the end of the year.
Okay, well, that would be substantial.
That's their, right now, that's their mantra. That's where they're at. On the table are 2 interest rate drops between now and the end of the year. However, that's all subject to who knows what happens, who knows when it's going to happen, and what's going on with inflation. And so it's a wait and see thing, and it's very difficult to try to plan.
Well, because the market's returned, right? So if the market's returned, then why do I need an interest rate drop?
Right.
Right? Why do I want to take a chance with increasing inflation or costs if things are moving in the right direction?
Yes.
Right? But we don't know. Is that artificial? Is it real? Who knows? So that's why I said it's unusual and unpredictable.
And that's part of the problem with it. The next slide, because Craig really wanted to talk about inflation. this is only temporary, right? So that's what the mantra has been for some period of time, and then it spiked through the roof, and we wound up with that it wasn't just temporary. Mm-hmm. But I think when we look at it for now and what we're talking about with the tariffs and the fact that the tariffs are probably going to spike costs, I think everybody is going to see if the tariffs do go into place, an increase in cost of goods from, certainly in August, September, October timeframe, you're probably going to see this spike up in the cost of goods. And that's everything. Mm-hmm. That's food, that's gas, that's building supplies, that's clothing, that's everything. You're going to see a spike up. I think everybody's going to feel that.
Right.
However, it could really just be temporary as stuff starts to wind out. However, like what happens if the cost of goods goes up and, I can charge you X for a thing, a toy, a shoe, or sweatshirt or whatever, and my costs go down, what? Well, if you're going to continue to buy it at $15 instead of $10, why am I not charging you $15?
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of unknown there. Like I said, there's a lot of unpredictability there. But there's also something going on that's a little weird too. And it was happening a while ago where the market kept going up, but the bond rate stayed in the toilet.
Yes.
Right? Now the bond rate is high and the market's climbing at the same time. So it's, once again, you have these two things that don't happen together happening together.
Right.
It's raining and it's sunny at the same time. We got sun showers going on.
Yes. and so a lot of that is sort of, but I really do, for us, feel that the inflation impact that we're going to feel is possibly be temporary. And that's sort of what everybody is trying to see right now and trying to say. And that goes back to the Federal Reserve Bank and what the Federal Reserve Bank is doing and why they're hesitant to lower rates, like Greg was saying, because everything is so good right now as far as the markets are concerned. So why do that? And if it is only going to be temporary, then once that temporary is pushed back down, well, then I can lower rates. So that's why they're not going to do it now. And as long as the administration keeps pushing this button and keeps saying tariffs, 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 the Fed is going to keep saying delay, delay, delay.
Yeah. The other thing you got to take into consideration is the fact we are a global market, yes. Right? And when we respond to what's going on with tariffs and things in our own country, other countries respond as well. And so do they come back as strong because we're unpredictable?
Right.
Do they make other arrangements with other countries and we get out of that loop? And so how does that affect us? I know a lot of farmers right now are really panicking because China's reduced a lot of their soy orders.
Right.
Right? And then how do I get workers? And how do they make all this work? So like you said, maybe it's temporary, but if I break my leg, that's only temporary, but it hurts a whole lot while my leg's broken.
It's a lot of pain, right? In the short term.
And will I survive it? Am I going to get gout or jaundice or what's going to happen here? So I think there is a lot more dynamics here than most people are aware of. It's not just what we're doing in this country.
Right. Next slide. And so, the recession thing still hangs around. I don't think we're as necessarily headed towards a recession. It felt like we were sometime, certainly in the end of last year, beginning of this year. But I think with everything that's gone on, we've sort of moved around it. But it's raised its head again, specifically because of the tariffs and what the cost. And like Craig said, in some cases, some of these industries, the job market, while still seeming to go, is transitioning a little bit. You have a lot of those older, more steady employers now cutting back and downsizing.
Well, they're hoping for the best, but they're bracing for the worst.
Yeah.
Once again, it's unusual and unpredictable. So what do you do in those times? You kind of become more conservative, right?
So just know it's out there. I don't necessarily, it's not something that we're saying, hey, we're going to be headed there, but the word has been kicking around. It's been coming up more with some of the economists and some of the analysts talking about, hey, look, some of this stuff, we could head there, but I think it's further off if it does going to come. I don't think it'll come this year if it happens. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think it's kind of like predicting New England snow, right? Somewhere between 1 inch and 3 feet.
Yes, it's going to happen.
I was right. I was right.
Yes.
So I think that's a little bit where we are right now.
Right. Next slide. So where are we headed? So this was sort of the conversation that we were talking about as far as where we see things going, I think it's interesting. One of the because I follow a lot of analysts, follow a lot of economists in terms of listening and trying to get a sense of where they are. And right now the S&P 500, when before we came in studio, it was at like 62 something in terms of. But at 6,200, let's just use that as a round number because I don't want to hurt myself.
Okay,
we'll
good.
call it 6,200. The spread on where the S&P 500 could end up by the end of 2025 is anywhere from like 5,300 to 7,400.
Wow.
Yes, it's a huge swing, and it just
1 inch to 3 feet. Right.
1 inch to 3 feet. Hey, I was right. What do you know? But I think the idea there is exactly what Craig was sort of talking about. This whole unusual, unpredictable year that we're in. It has everybody sort of thrown to say, I don't know. And once these tariffs, whether they come in place or they don't come in place, how am I going to deal with them? How is the market going to react to it? There's a lot of unknowns in that. And so it doesn't matter how many iterations you try to spin at it, it still comes down to we're not sure. It's uncertain.
Like even Monte Carlo analysis doesn't know what to do right now.
Right. It's just like, well, yeah, you could be in this broad brush. There you go. And there's this SWOT that's there. So I think for, a lot of us, there is that, well, gee, there's a lot of uncertainty going on, and how should I handle this? So you can go to the next slide, because you look at it two ways, and Craig already talked about the sunshine and rainbows, and that everything is good and happy,
Right.
everything is well.
No, I was talking about rain.
Yeah, I know,
showers,
right? Well,
yeah.
so we get doom and gloom.
Well, there
That's
where
what
you
we
get the
got.
rainbows from. Yeah, right.
But so this would be, all right, so the tariffs go into place, the inflation is temporary, everything rights itself, the Federal Reserve Bank sees by the end of September that things are okay, and the first rate cut happens either at that time or at the October meeting, and then the next rate cut happens in the December meeting, and the two rate cuts of the Federal Reserve Bank happen by the end of the year, and everything starts moving along. Housing becomes a little bit more, mortgage rates come down, housing gets a little bit more affordable for folks. I think that's really the outcome, like as sunshine and rainbows as you could get.
Well, I think a couple of things were going on as well. I think one, before the end of the year happened, inflation was under control. It was down in the 2.5, 2.6 range, right? So we were already tracking that way.
Yeah.
And the economy was pretty strong,
Right.
right? So I think what's going on is through all this fluctuation, which is kind of made up fluctuation, the economy was strong and is kind of just saying, look, we're just going to keep trenching through. We're going to wave
Right.
this off. We're not going to pay attention. We're going to keep doing what we have to do. So I think that helps. I think also we have a really great fixed rate environment right now.
Yes.
Which is also helping a lot of people who are, like I said, you're looking to retire, you're looking
Savers.
savers, right? Now you can get that 5% you couldn't get a year or two ago.
Right.
So there's a lot of positive things that you can take advantage of this environment. It's just about being prepared, like I said, for the unpredictable. Yep.
And so the flip side of this, and the next slide, is the doom and gloom side, right? We're all doomed, right?
I'll let you handle that. Yeah.
So the problem here is on the doom side of it and what can happen, right? Well, so the tariffs go into place and we run into the same situation that we ran into with Liberation Day back in April. The market overreacts, market starts to tank, things start to go sideways. The inflation does not get temporary, does not get in check, and inflation starts to spike to the point where the Federal Reserve Bank says, you know what, I'm not touching interest rates at all. And then housing continues to go, the cost of goods become more, and suddenly now everything that you're spending on is farther away because it's costing more to do gas and groceries and the simple things that I try to do, and the cost of living is not adjusting to that, where I'm actually losing now when I'm working.
Yeah, I mean, in that respect, a lot of the macroeconomic aspects still stay in play, right? The things that are going to create some kind of risk, whether that's volatility in the market, whether that's political risk, whether that's policy change, that's going to be, those are big risks that are kind of the unpredictable thing that push people in a different direction.
Right.
We just got our new big, beautiful bill. Haven't had a chance to read the
we're
whole
not,
thing
yeah,
yet,
we're not doing that.
Haven't
We'll
had
do
enough
that
beer
at
to
some
read
other
that
time
yet,
once
right.
we have a chance to review it and make sure.
But there may be some things in there that are going to create policy change that may create some risks or opportunities.
Right.
So you got to, everything's in flux in that respect. So I said some of the macroeconomics are still somewhat predictable because they always happen.
Yeah. Next slide. So you can just click through them. The question we can't ask is what should you be doing, so you can go forward with that in terms of it, right? So, there's 4 ways to approach this, right? You're either gonna spend more, you're gonna save more, you're gonna try to pay down your debts, or you're gonna protect what you have. I mean, so basically, when costs of goods are going up, I'm gonna end up spending more. And the question is, do I continue to try to live the lifestyle that I've been living? I'm just paying more out of pocket.
Right.
I can handle that. Or am I going to cut back?
Or do I stave off maybe big projects? I was going to redo something in the house, or I was going to take a big trip, or I was going to maybe retire early.
Right.
And maybe I don't. So is that something that we factor into our plan?
Yeah, and paying down debts, that's always important, because if interest rates stay where they are, the cost of loans and credit and all of that stuff is going to go through the roof. And then the last one on there is protecting what you have. This really gets into the conversation about making sure that you've got coverage for everything that you're trying to do, which is not only the stuff that you own, but yourself. And also making sure that anybody that you want to have get your stuff. This is beneficiary conversations. You can check out our thing on beneficiaries with that. But it's just making sure that these are simple things, but they help, especially when we're talking about an unusual and unpredictable year. These are ways to say, okay, wait, I can take control and do some of this stuff.
Right, because like I said, in an environment where you're unsure, do I have my job tomorrow? Right? Do I have my health tomorrow? Am I so stressed I'm putting more additional health stress on myself? Do you have coverage, and can you make sure you can get through those and mitigate that
Next
damage?
slide. So, do your due diligence on asset allocation. That's okay. We're not going to go into asset allocation with this. Steps you can take. This is if you're a bull or a bear in terms of buying or selling. So again, these are just some things depending on your mindset. If you think you're into a growth part, these are some things you can do. If you're a bear, that means, you think we're in the doom and gloom side, you're going to go that way. Next slide. So the QR code on the screen, whatever you're watching on, pause it. You can take out your phone, shoot the QR code. It's going to open up our calendar, set up a time with us. Let's have a chat. We're here just to opportunity, just to have a complimentary consultation, just to find out what's top of mind, what's a concern for you. And then last slide is just, if you ever do, just reach out to us. We're happy to have a conversation. Check out the website. That'll bring you to our calendar, info@ariesfoundation.org. And with that, we are going to say, Skål.